mission, on mission. Trying to get it right. Transition, changing the way that I see. Transition mind. I'm on a mission, trying to get it right. I'm transitioning my life, making a transition. Ooh, making a transition. Ooh, 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 ooh. Making a transition. Ooh, 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 ooh. Making a transition. Ooh, ooh. Transition, mission. I'm on a mission. On a mission, I'm trying to get it right. Changing the way that I see life. Transition in my life. On a mission. On a mission.
Welcome. This is DJ Genesis, and this is Alchemizing Energy. And today we are going to take a deep dive into the metaphysics of fairy tales with our special guest, Fundi Fee. And this is going to be a series where we break down fairy tales and the aspects of them that can have metaphysical meaning. So without further ado, I would like to bring up our special guest, Fundi Fee. Welcome.
Peace and blessings, family. How y'all doing?
Peace and blessings. So before I let you kind of go in on this, I'm going to play a little bit of a video of the actual subject matter at hand. We are going to be discussing the movie Wicked. So the movie Wicked has, it's really based on The Wizard of Oz, and it's supposedly the prior story of The Wizard of Oz before the whole thing with Dorothy. And I think it's interesting, and I was talking about it, and I found out that you knew extensively about fairy tales, and you had already had broken this whole
system in the world.
So before we go into it, I'm going to play this intro just so we can get people to kind of come in and get ready to get this breakdown, because I think that when people watch these tales, people don't even realize how intricate these stories are. We're letting our children watch them, and we don't even realize that they're being programmed in a way. So let's go into it. Let's play this.
Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers. Wicked is based on Gregory Maguire's novel The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West, and it conjures up a revisionist origin story for the iconic villain from The Wizard of Oz, as well as Glinda the Good Witch. The book is a much bloodier, darker, and more gruesome story than a generally more upbeat and humorous musical. Take Elphaba's Birth, for example. In the book, a trio of mean and murderous midwives assist with the child's delivery, but when they discover the baby is unexpectedly green-skinned, they conspire to kill her. However, Elfie has been born with shark-like teeth so sharp that she bites the finger of one of the midwives clean off before they can carry out their lethal plan. Elphaba's younger sister, Nessa Rose, is born without any arms in the book, rather than without use of her legs as in the musical. But where things get really dark for her in Maguire's novel is after she inherits a title that gives her great power and ultimately leadership of Munchkinland. However, unlike Spider-Man, for whom great power comes with great responsibility, Nessa Rose becomes a tyrant.
You know what? I forgot to say, before anyone watches this, spoiler alert. I'm sorry. I did not get to tell people. Listen, this is not for those who are unaware of the thing. So I'm going to put in here, spoiler alert, because we're about to break this whole thing down. And if you don't know about it, you know what I'm saying, I'd hate for you to you told us about it. No, spoiler alert. Get ready to be spoiled. This is really for those who are aware of The Wizard of Oz, Wicked, and are not worried about being spoiled on some of the aspects of the thing. So let's keep going.
earning the moniker Wicked Witch of the East after she adopts the use of sorcery. And one of her most infamous and horrifying acts in the novel is her role in the creation of the Tin Man. What happens is that an old woman comes to plead before Nessa, asking her to enchant an axe belonging to a woodcutter so that it will kill him. The old woman's maid has fallen in love with the woodsman named Nick Chopper, and she fears she'll be left alone to do all the work herself if her maid gets married. So Nessa decides to curse the axe so it will chop off the woodcutter's arms and he'll end up armless, just like Gale in Maguire's novel is similar to the gruesome origin of the Tin Man in L. Frank Baum's novel, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, where the Wicked Witch of the East enchants a woodsman's axe so it'll slip each time he uses it and slice off a limb. Every time this happens, a tinsmith replaces the missing body part with a piece of metal until eventually all his body is made of tin, including his head. Although the woodcutter's soul transfers from his human body to his tin body, he loses his heart and no longer has any interest in his lover. All this grisly backstory was unsurprisingly omitted from the Wizard of Oz movie adaptation, and the Wicked musical also predictably opted for a less horrifying, more tragic. Doc declares to Nessa that he's lost his heart to Glinda. Nessa casts a spell to make him fall in love with her instead, but ends up mispronouncing the words, causing his heart to shrink to nothing. Elfie saves him from death by turning him into the Tin Man, though he no longer has a heart. And there's even more violence and death in the Wicked novel compared to the musical. In the book, Dr. Dillamond, a goat professor at Shiz University, carries out experiments to try and prove that animals and humans are the same. His intention is to discredit the wizard's discriminatory laws against animals, but Dillamond ends up murdered by Madame Morrible's mechanical henchman. The musical doesn't go as far as that. Instead, Dr. Dillamond is arrested and loses, who's now involved in the underground resistance to the wizard, makes it her mission to kill the headmistress. But when she eventually finds her, Morrible is already dead. However, to get credit for her death, Elfie smashes the lifeless Morrible's skull in with a trophy, then claims to have killed the headmistress herself. In the musical, meanwhile, Madame Morrible is simply locked up by Glinda. The story's main love interest, Fiyero, is also murdered in the book, in stark contrast with the musical's happy ending for him and Elphaba. In the novel, after Elfie's attempted assassination of Madame Morrible, Fiyero is brutally beaten by the wizard's secret police, the Gale Force, and then he's never seen again, very likely murdered. After losing him, Elf ends up in a convent and falls into a coma, during which she gives birth to Fiero's son while unconscious. Elfie eventually wakes up, but still traumatized. She later believes that Fiero might not be dead and is actually disguised as the Scarecrow, but she becomes distraught when she discovers that the Scarecrow really is just straw. In a 180-degree turn from the novel, the musical takes this heartbreaking idea and makes it happy, with Fiero surviving his encounter with the Gale Force thanks to Elphaba casting a spell to turn him into a scarecrow while they're tortured with Elfie in secret after Dorothy and her gang arrive at the witch's castle. By the way, in the novel, Fiero is actually married with children when he begins his relationship with Elfie, and after his death, she goes to see his wife and they become friends. During her stay, Elfie ends up inadvertently killing Fiero's son Manic after the boy very nearly bullies her own son to death. This brutal moment happens when Elphaba trains her gaze on an icicle above Manic, which then drops and penetrates the young boy's skull, which, as fans of The Office will know, is also how Dwight thought Michael would meet his maker.
I would say, Michael, take 2 steps back and stare at the icicle from the side. And he's like, no, I like the way they look from standing directly underneath them. It was only a matter of time.
After Elphaba is born, both her mother and clergyman father become lovers of a red-skinned glide by farmers in Munchkin Land to appease the clock of the time dragon following a lengthy drought. Plus, at various points, it's also rumoured that Turtle Heart may be the biological father of Nessa Rose, Elphaba's younger sister. An especially bizarre part of the Wicked novel versus the musical is the Philosophy Club, which actually involves a sex show. The scenes in the book at the club are particularly weird, involving interspecies orgies, and it's obvious why these things didn't make it into either the musical adaptation or the PG-rated movie. Though the Ozdust ballroom in the new film does have some allusions to the underground club while still keeping things strictly PG. Now, quick spoiler for the show's finale. The ending of the book is also way darker than the musical, with Elfie experiencing the same fate as the Wicked Witch of the West in the Wizard of Oz movie, where she's liquidated after Dorothy throws a bucket of water on her. In the musical, Elphaba fakes her own death, supposedly melting after water's thrown on her, but later she re-emerges from a trapdoor to reunite with Fiyero, who's now the Scarecrow. In the novel, by the end, the witch is ding-dong dead. Or is she? Because, as happens with many franchises that realise which side their bread's buttered on, her return is left open with the book's final words, when the narrator is asked if the witch ever came out after she died, to which the response is, not yet.
All right. So, here we are. Now, when I saw this, okay, I watched the first one, and now I watched the second one, and I was like, man, this whole thing is way deeper of a children's thing than just a children's thing. Even when I was watching it as a kid, I didn't know all this deep stuff that was going. A very dark story, very dark. You know, and sometimes when you're watching stuff as a child, you just, the Wonderful Witch, you're about the songs, the music, and just watching it, the singing and everything like that could get you mesmerized. I mean, it makes you almost tear up. But the deeper side of it all is there's a really scary, like this really deep underlying story that you're experiencing. And you almost like you're feeling like the emotions of it all, and you don't even know where all this crying is coming from. I mean, you are crying at sometimes throughout the whole thing. I know the first one at the end, honey, tears were just exploding out my eyes. I was like, man, that's wow, But like when you really think about this, it's because of all the deeper inner like workings of all the like subliminals that are going on. And it was interesting when I talked to Foodie when I was like about this. She says, yeah, she was able to break it down. And I was like, wow, I didn't know this, didn't know that. And so without further ado, I'm going to let Foodie take it from here. And we're going to break down like the metaphysics of this whole thing, because what we think this is a fairy tale, but there's a way deeper meaning into all this stuff. There's a surface level, and we know it was about color. Yeah, she's green, but she's black woman and a white woman. But there's something way deeper and even more extreme going on. And so that is where we get Master Fundi, who is going to break down this entire situation. So without further ado, Master Fundi Fee, let's get into the metaphysics.
How y'all doing tonight?
Yes.
First, I'd like to say that once you know this, you will not unknow it. So if you don't want to know what I am going to say, please feel free to tune out. Because again, once you see this, you're going to see it across the spectrum. And if you don't, I'm going to help you tonight. First, let's lay this out. I'm only going to go with the first story of Wicked, the first one. I'm not going to go into the second one because it does, like anything else that keeps going, it goes across the timeline. But this whole thing is an I am ritual. And you're going to go, well, okay, that's great. Is there another one? Sure, Harry Potter was an I am ritual as well. The reason they put it into music is that it drops into the psyche easier, even if you don't understand it. So let me help y'all understand this so you and your children can watch this ritual. And if you're going to be a part of it, you might as well be a knowing part of it so you too can benefit from the working of it. Can we agree on that part? The I am ritual. So let's start with Elphaba's origin story. Simply put, Elphaba was bioengineered by the wizard himself using royal bloodline. And it was an affair, which even on metaphysical levels is a type of blight against the birth. And on top of that, there were substances used in this birth that turned Elphaba green, which is a way of marking the bloodline. Because again, nobody was able to read the grimoire, the grimoire. So the wizard took it upon himself to bioengineer children, because please don't think Elphaba was the only one. Because if you really look in the movie, when the wizard showed up for the affair, the green vial had already been opened and used. Elphaba was one of the successful births, which is why Madame Marble was able to find her very easily. Because there are scouts, there are always scouts put out to find you. Even Harry Potter had scouts, remember? When you are wanted by what some people consider good or what some people consider bad, you're wanted by both sides in equal measure. And it is about what side you are going to serve that brings about the great I am. Now let's go a little further into this. Elphaba's father hated her. Didn't Harry Potter's uncle hate him too? As a matter of fact, in most hero stories, the father has some type of resentment against the child. And you're going to go, you have to give me some more examples. Okay, Hansel and Gretel. The mother was gone. The father remarried. And what did he do? He took his two precious children out into the wilderness and left them there because the stepmother said so. Elphaba was the help. How did Elphaba get into school? Elphaba got into school because her father sent her to make sure that her sister was all right. Correct? Because she wasn't supposed to go to magic school. Remember? And upon somebody helping her sister, her magic appeared. It was natural. It was reflective. It was instinctual, and it worked. And it happened in front of everybody. It could not be denied. And what was the first thing that the scout did? Lied. And covered up Elphaba's power as her own. Didn't she? Miss Marble came down and was like, I did that just to keep your students on their toes. You blah, blah, right? Because they always take credit for what is ours. Naturally. The one always sticks out. But the one gets to go through the ritual like everybody else. It's just that the one actually succeeds in the ritual. Now what happened? We can fast forward this. We go to school, right? She gets into school. Why? Because the scout, who is Madame Marble, goes to the father and asks him if she can go to school. And Daddy says yes. And the one person that saw her on site and said that she needed to be fixed without even asking her if something was wrong was the one she had the room with. Huh. Okay. Madame Marble takes her under her wing. She's learning. We're going to fast forward through this because I know y'all got questions and I want to answer those questions. We're going to fast forward through this right quick, right? Now remember, Elphaba keeps that vial of green stuff that made her under her pillow. And after the ball, oh, the ball, when we're all having fun. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going too fast. Let me back up a little bit. Do we have the picture of the library? In the library, oh, beautiful picture. Do y'all see this library? Let me point something out for y'all right quick. These are sisters. One that looks after the other. But I want you not to look at them. I want you to look into the background. Do you see those digits in the background? And for those of you that don't know what a digit is, in the Egyptian cosmology, it is like a transistor. It is an energy amplifier. Yes, Fire pointed out the gears in the back, but let me be a little more specific about what those gears are. Those gears are energy transformers. And in this scene, you will see 3 types of energies that are amplified here in this particular scene. When it starts, all of these children are in a library studying. When Prince Charming comes in, he charms everybody, even the librarian who tells him that this is a quiet spot. And he distracts everybody with song and dance about being entertained in a place of learning. He has the same glamour that Glenda does. It is hollow, it is superficial, It is live for the now. It is party and bullshit, not study. The only one that defied this glamour amplification was Elphaba. Elphaba was the only one that stayed focused amongst an energy amplification and stayed focused on her studies. Then we get around to the ball, because of course Prince Charming must have a ball, right? We must party. And Glinda decides that she's not going to wear this black hat that one of her cohorts brings out because it's ugly and her grandmother gave it to her. Her grandmother was a witch too. But it's ugly and she doesn't hate anybody. Now this is very, very important. She doesn't hate anybody enough to give it away to them until Elphaba shows up. And she gives Elphaba her symbol of hate under the symbol of friendship. Remember? And that's something that the hero's journey actually has in it, that you wear people's hate. Well, see, where can we see that again? No problem. Harry Potter. Whose clothes did Harry Potter have to wear? Because Harry Potter never got his own clothes until he went to Hogwarts. He wore the hated clothes of his cousin. Remember? It happens across the board. We don't even know if the hat was enchanted, but I can tell you that it was. And I'll tell you that it was because of what happened at the dance. Can we move on to the dance? Now let's remember that Glinda gave Elphaba a symbol of hatred so she could wear on her head. But there's something that even the unmagical forgets about particular magical items. Can we get a shot of the hat and her wearing it so I can point something out right quick? For those of you that understand magical symbolism, and I can go in all day, all night, please understand that there are two parts to this hat. There is the pyramid on top, and there is the circle underneath it. Some of you have seen this symbol before. If you look at the lighting in the back, you will see the square. And where have we seen a symbol, ladies and gentlemen, that encases a square within a triangle, within a circle? We saw this same symbol in him. We saw this same symbol in Harry Potter. This is a regeneration philosophy stone symbol. And when Elphaba, before Elphaba showed up, while she was still carrying hate on her head, the scout came and found Glinda and gave Glinda a wand and said to her, basically, I don't even think you got what it takes. Quite frankly, I don't even like you. But because Elphaba said she won't do this class without you, because I don't want to lose her, I got to teach you. Maybe you should thank her. Well, where is she? She just showed up. Elphaba comes in amongst all of the ridicule of everybody after doing a solid, and everybody does not like her simply because she not like them. She's going to take that hat off and she's going to revere that hat. Now, what I want you to realize something, look at the brim of the hat right now. Look at the brim. She put it on the ground, right? She's going to walk away from it and she's going to revere that hat. And when she puts it back on, I want y'all to realize that the brim of the hat changes, because so does Elphaba. You have to learn to be alone in your alone. You have to learn to stand by yourself amongst everybody else, amongst all the noise, amongst all the naysayers, and be who you are. Dance your dance. And when you realize your own light and you stop running from your own greatness, you will unconsciously give everybody around you permission to do the same. And you will free them from their own constraints, if even for a little while. But you have to say, I am worthy of my own happiness, regardless of everybody else. I will dance my dance amongst everybody, even if they don't dance with me. You damn right it curved up. It took on a whole nother personality, just like she did. And unlike the charming, or unlike Glinda, everybody was free to do as they willed. She asked nobody to dance with her. And that is becoming the I am. I am enough, even with myself. Glinda owes everything to Elphaba. Glinda gave Elphaba hate and she turned it into freedom for everybody in that room. And Elphaba gave her a wand. that was priceless. And that is the difference between the yin and yang. They're one coin, but two different sides. Like Draco Malfoy and Harry Potter, two sides of the same coin. Yes, fire. Although she wore the symbol of hate, when she put it back on, was that her accepting herself? Not only accepting herself, accepting the hate and wearing it. Come on now. Think of the parallel of Black folk in America. How much hate do we wear and make that shit so stylish the whole damn world want to dance with us and sing our songs the way we do? They want to fashion themselves, literal fashion themselves after us, dance like us, speak like us. And when they do, they want to embrace us. And when we leave, that's all they got, because they can't create like us, because they're not willing to be alone, because they need help. And who's the help? We're the help. Until we start helping ourselves. Because remember, Elphaba could not control her magic until she controlled her emotion, which is why we're always, I feel, oh my God, I feel. Until you get that crap under control, you will not get your magic under control. And then after the after the dance, what do y'all do? Y'all start telling people your secrets. What I found completely funny was that Glinda, and this happens to us as a people, Glinda didn't even tell her secret. Glinda did, so I'm gonna marry whatever his name was. That wasn't even a damn secret. That hadn't even happened. So for something that hadn't happened, that wasn't even a secret, Elphaba went and told her laid her whole soul out for somebody that she knew was pulling her leg. Y'all have to y'all got to learn what a fake friend is. In our world, we are always the assistant. This is why a lot of the mayonnaise crew get mad at you at work for exceeding them. You're not supposed to exceed them. You're supposed to help them to succeed. You got it wrong. You're supposed to help them. And that's why they're mad at you. Glinda didn't like Elphaba because of her natural magic. That scene, Lord, that scene right there. Could y'all learn to keep your secrets to yourself? Stop exposing your vulnerable points, please. Stop giving something for nothing. Then we get on to class. Well, let's fast forward this. Let's fast forward this right quick. Let's get to the idea that the movie talked about taking away the powers of the natural animals. The animals shouldn't talk. They should only be seen. You mean to take away the 7 noble arts from nature itself? The 7 noble arts that were probably taught to man by nature, especially in this setting, because the animals were teachers, they were nannies, they were professionals. I mean, even Elphaba was raised by the animals. Who does that parallel? Jesus. Wasn't Jesus born in a manger? I'm just saying. A lot of Harry Potter's greatest lessons were on the backs of animals and in the forest with the animals. And when you silence nature and you try to control nature, which is another reason that Elphaba was genetically engineered, and that parallels, and let's be honest, it parallels the Black man and woman in America. We've only been able to, how do I put this lightly? We've only been able to breed independently for the last 150 years. That's not a long time. And then our breeding was strictly controlled. We are engineered to do what? To read the grimoire. What grimoires? See, y'all still don't understand that there are rituals that still take place in places, and they need people that can sing. And in singing particular frequencies and notes, this particular magic is afforded to the people who can do the ritual, who performs the ritual. But like in the movie Him, if you're not the recipient, you're just the scapegoat, you don't get all of that power. You get the power that the originators of the magic want you to have. Just like Oz only wanted Elphaba to do what he wanted her to do. He engineered her. He wanted her to work for him and him alone. And then we find out that Madame Marble was in on it the whole time because she was a scout looking for someone like her to train to read the grimoire so they could control Oz. And of course, give Elphaba all the power she wants as long as that power stayed in their control. But there's Glinda, the sidekick that works for the system, that's in your ear trying to make sure you stay. And this is when she meets her father, and he doesn't even tell her.
Wait.
Huh? Look at Yin and Yang sitting there. They don't even need Glinda. Glinda's there to be a handler for Elphaba, because they know Elphaba cares about Glinda, but Glinda cares about power.
But did the Wizard of Oz know that he was Glinda's father?
Yes.
Because
He was looking for this exact effect. Yes, he was looking for this. He sure did. I know my creation. Now, who's the center of the eye? Who's the center of the eye?
Glenda, yeah, her hat, yeah.
No, the father and the daughter. They are on the perimeter of Oz. Look at it.
And there's something about this image right here, like that's even an image. Like when you pause it, that's something that's there. Like if you like click, boom, that's an image.
Let me show y'all something about art and
Yeah.
image right quick. Look at the top. You see the tornado at the top? And if you funnel it down, there's a triangle, but the triangle has two peaks. One is to the left side of Elphaba, and one is to the left side of the wizard, putting the Emerald City in the center. So these are the two forces that make that vortex. Yes, Navi, the two towers. Yes, Saint, the castle. Y'all see, my people know the metaphysics. While they are in the eye, looking out of the eye. They're not looking into the eye. They're looking out of the eye. And they are in the wizard's castle. So for those of you who watched Lord of the Rings, wasn't Sauron in the castle that had the eye, and he could see everything that was happening through the eye? All of them are saying the exact same thing. Now, what happens here? She reads the grimoire and she notices that it brings harm to the animals. And y'all have to remember, Elphaba was raised by the animals. And we also have to remember that Elphaba is green for a reason. Shall we go into that reason right quick? And I'm just going to skim on top of it. What chakra is green associated with? And again, it depends on what school. It depends on what schools you're coming out of, but they pretty much relate either way. If you are coming out of the chakras, right? Green is the heart chakra. And isn't this all about your heart and finding your way to love yourself? The heart chakra is about balance and connection, love and compassion, the elimination of ego and the upwards of hope, the positive nature of positivity, warmth and esteem and forgiveness, sharing and relating. Isn't that what Elphaba wanted? Unlike somebody who was dressed in pink. Shall we go with what pink is? Which is related to red, which is base, a base root. A problem with grounding and security? Because Lord, have mercy. Sex, physical need, the physical need of being popular, because that is a physical need for attention. Just putting that out there. Right, and light red at that. If we go to the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life, green is victory, and its number is 7. And the light red is severity. So this is, again, something that we're dealing with, because we can never get away from those two colors in this movie, ever. Ever. And I'd also like to point out that after she refuses her father's bidding, and her friend, who is her handler, begs her to do as she is told, Elphaba takes her father's cloak, wears it enchantively within the eye, and becomes herself, her full self. She completely embraces herself within the eye. And when she decides to leave, and she jumps after reading and taking the grimoire, she goes through a complete night of the soul by jumping. She looks into the reflection of herself, and she sees the child that she was. And when she reaches out to embrace that child, she embraces her broomstick and she flies. And when she flies, she sings the song for everybody's freedom, defying gravity. And she leaves to go tell that the wizard is a liar. Her father is a liar. Not that she knows that yet. And upon telling her truth, she is labeled wicked. This is true of a lot of things. It's like we labeled Captain Hook wicked when it was Peter Pan who was actually abducting children. We called the Native American during the cops and robbers and the cowboys and Indians, we called the Indians wicked when they were only protecting their own land from squatters. We sided with the enemy. So sometimes we have to take a step back. And I would dare say that in The Wizard of Oz, Glinda waged a whole war against a whole world and won and never lifted a finger by using Dorothy to take out all of her enemies around the world and take the wizard with her. It was a genius general plan while still being considered the good witch. Just like in Wicked. And we know doggone well there's nothing good about Glinda. Now I'm open to questions and answers or other things that people want me to get into that are more specific. Floor is open.
Wow, man, that is one heck of a breakdown. Man, this whole thing, when you look at it, it's like, it's mesmerizing when you watch it, when you see it. How?
It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be. It's a ritual. And even you watching it, you join into the ritual. And if you don't understand what is going on in the ritual, you become an unwitting part and you don't benefit from it. You got to learn to benefit from the tale instead of just lending yourself to it. Benefit from it. And the only way to benefit from it is to know the story that's happening in front of you. You magical Negroes.
Let's talk about this image right here. What is your thoughts about that image?
That is when Elphaba finally takes a stand and she shatters this idea of what's happening to do something new and fresh. She's letting in air. She shattered the ceiling. She plucked out the eye. And as we talk about in a lot of folklore history, when we find deities or people that pluck out the eye of something, you get enormous power. One of the people who plucked out his own eye for power was Odin. We have Egyptian gods that are missing eyes. And out of not missing that eye, you get great insight, which is why she was able to go through her night of the dark soul and not hit the ground right after this.
Right. So here's some questions from the audience. Okay,
Sure.
where does Elfie's sister play in all this? She's complex.
I'm sorry, say again.
Where does Elfie's sister play in all this? She's complex.
Okay. Here is where she plays in all of this. She is the weight that Elphaba carries. And in that weight, a little further on in the story, she too begins to hate Elphaba, even though Elphaba has done almost everything to take care of her. And it's Glenda that messes with her psyche, not Elphaba, but she can't see that because, again, we hurt those people that are closest to us out of love for people that we don't know. Because in the play, that sister becomes a tyrant.
Can you explain the transformation that the monkeys and stuff endured when they grew wings? You notice they were ready to blame Elphaba when they thought it didn't work.
Correct. And that is because Elphaba was supposed to be able to read the grimoire, but it took a minute. But when Elphaba found out that it was hurting the monkeys, which is why the monkeys followed her, she didn't want to do it. But that was the spell in the grimoire that opened to her at that time.
So with all this whole movie going on, you see more things with, Cynthia Erivo feeling like this like power, like almost like becoming like protective of Ariana Grande. What do you think
Mhm.
is happening here with the movie versus what's happening in real life? Where people are like, man, this is getting a weird this is a weird uh synergy between these two. Is it only because you think that what happened on set, or do you think there's something else going on that's even more deeper?
It's deeper. It's deeper. The they're in a they're in a initiate twin relationship. Much like what happens in Skull and Bones, you get a twin, and y'all have to protect each other. All twins are both. An ideal relationship between these type of initiate friends is that they both protect each other like this. But if your twin is an egotist and a narcissist, like in Skull and Bones, a lot of them are, one might care and the other one might not. And the relationship between these two is the exact same relationship as their characters. Because remember, over on my channel, we talked about how actors sometimes never come out of their characters. Some actors, after playing particular characters, especially with directors and writers, lightmen and setmen that know what they're doing esoterically, you become that character. There are a lot of actors that have to pay for therapy when they're done with certain characters. Look at Keith, what's his name? What's his last name? The Keith, what's his name that played the Joker that bought the farm? Hannibal Lecter. You have men that play the devil and they only play the devil for a reason. Look at the dude that played. We don't even know. Does anybody know the name of the dude that played Pee Wee Herman? Right. You probably don't know his name because he became Pee Wee Herman. When he got a star on the Walk of Fame, it wasn't in his name on his birth certificate. He got Pee Wee Herman on the hall. It wasn't the actor, it was the character that got the name. Like Nature Boy played a character that took him over. The same has happened here. They played a relationship and it crossed over, plain and simple. And she's going to give Ariel Grande all of her gifts and protections like Black people have because around the damn world, because we're conditioned to do that. Even though she went through this damn ritual, it still didn't cross barrier into the real world. Oops. But that's what happens when you're a victim of the contract. She has the money and the fame that she wanted. Now she's got to pay for it. Welcome to your payment. You're the help. Even though you're famous, you're still the help.
So when you're watching this, I know that there was one song where it's like some right? She's saying this. Do you think that these are real rituals that they are singing during the movie?
Yes, and so is the dancing. The choreography is too. Just because you're watching it from ground level doesn't mean what's happening from above sight doesn't, you're not seeing the stars and the pentagrams and the moons and the lines crossing into one another. Y'all think you're watching regular choreography, but you're not seeing it from the top. They show you from an angle where you're like, oh, it's just dancing. Yay. Okay, just dancing. When you go to concerts, y'all don't see the light configurations above your head. You don't even realize that there are 10 tons of lights hanging over your head by hooks that are in the signs of pentagrams, decagons, trapezoids, signs of horns and whatnot. The eternity tree. Oh my God. The sets. But because you're unaware of where to look, how to look, oh, this is a good show. Show is. It's a really good show.
Man, let me tell you something. I was at Chris Brown's concert, and goodness gracious. I mean, for how many hours? I don't even know. And you're up there like, man, this thing is still going on. But he has all the energy. And I'm like, man, and even my own daughter, because I didn't even know I shouldn't bring my daughter to the Chris Brown concert. My 7-year-old, she was tired. She was like, man, I'm tired. So I was like, can we leave now? And it was still going. Had about an hour more to go. She was like, I'm done. That's it. She couldn't stand no more. She had to it was time to go. She couldn't do it no more. So
none of this is by happenstance. None of the success is by happenstance. None of it. It's all esoteric. They just got y'all not believing in it. While they do it, and on you, they got you not believing in it.
So I told you what happened to my daughter when the whole movie ended. We went to go see 1 and we went to go see 2. And at the end of part 2 of Wicked, I told you that there was a couple, a white, I don't know if they were a couple, but it was 2 white ladies sitting in the back. So imagine that we're sitting there in our recliners, because we went to the Dolby at AMC. And if anyone knows about how Dolby is that they have recliner chairs. So we're in these recliners, and there's like a walkway, and then someone else is in a recliner behind us. At the end of the movie, this lady comes up, bends over my 7-year-old daughter's chair, and touches her on her head and says, "Were you crying?" And then she takes her hand off her head and then goes and sits back down. And then waits until we leave. When we leave, they left. It was really bizarre. It was like, what? But yeah. And it took Foodie to tell us that, no, that's energy siphoning. Because there was no way she could have seen my daughter crying, because the chairs are huge, And my daughter really, when she did kind of cry, because the movie was very emotional and by a lot of crying going on, she put we all had a cup, a cover over us. And when she began to cry, she just put the cover over her face and was like, because it was very emotional. It was so much emotion going on in the whole movie. And yeah, the lady came and just booped her on the head and said, "Were you crying?" And then just went back to her seat and just sat down. Waited for us to leave, and then she left right after us. She didn't do anything after that, but it was more or less it was really strange. And then that's when I found out, hey, that's something was up there. So that's what made me really do this show, because I'm like, when you have these type of movies about these type of energies and everything, you never know who's in the audience, and you bring your kids there to watch a movie that seems very what's the name? Innocent, you know? And so next thing you know, right? So let's go into that. Like what exactly was that?
Energy tapping. They, when a child or an adolescent is in a moment of excited emotion, whether that be they're upset, they're mad, they're sad, they're extremely happy, they're curious, they exude energy. And I know a lot of people, we don't even think about our auras or the light that we give off, but there are people who understand, study, use, and tap this energy. I do. I'll be the first one to tell you, oh my God, let me see a little white girl crying. I am over there. You all right? And I sure will stroke that head. Oh, yes, I will. Oh, yes, I will. If they can do it to mine, we can do it to them. This is a two-way damn street. And I take mine like they take theirs. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm not that good.
I told you my daughter was up until 3 o'clock in the morning. The next day she couldn't go to sleep. So yeah.
I drink white women's tears. Think I don't? I got a cup downstairs that says white women's tears, and I love to go in my garden and sip on. What? They do it to us full mass. Why do you think they keep us discombobulated? They're constantly moving us around, separating our families, stressing us the hell out. The Matrix told you they found out they can get more energy out of us if they don't make us happy. Okay? It works the other way too. Off-topic video request. Fundi, can you talk about acorns and energy harvesting? Oh, yes. Yes, ma'am, I can. Sure can. Sure can. And I'll be the first one to tell you there's a reason that here in the Americas, we didn't bury people in the ground. There's a reason that we, before the colonizers got here, we sent you away. We sent you away in fire. We didn't bury you in the ground here. And it has to do with that right there. But that's the show. That's another show. My bad. I'm sorry, DJ. What's up? What's up, Genesis?
No, that's cool. I mean, we're still good, you know. So I want to just know like the metaphysics of this entire, like when it comes down to Wizard of Oz and this new movie. Like it's interesting how everything comes together in this weird way. Wizard of Oz, and then how this whole thing. Do you think there was a connection at some point? Like, how does this movie become like a staple, the new staple?
It becomes the new staple because it comes before the integration. Okay. Wicked is about becoming who you are, right? The Wizard of Oz, on the other hand, is about the integration of all parts so that you become a whole person. Once you become a whole person, then you get to explore what that I am is. But we went from the I am into a fragmentation that now has to be reintegrated. But we're talking about children who have to integrate their heart, their courage, their bravery, their intellect, their instinct, and Toto being their basic animal need to observe and know and tell the truth. So when you have a child that can completely integrate these things, and again, go with the wizard back home to the family, a integrated being, that too is the hero's journey, because the hero has to return home to tell the story. Even Elphaba went away so she could go tell the truth of the story. And in going away, it allowed another story that could be told, that she was wicked. Let us remember, even Harry Potter was considered wicked in part of the Harry Potter series. Remember? Nobody believed that Voldemort had come back, and Harry and Dumbledore were liars, and nobody wanted to be friends with Harry anymore. Yeah. There comes a part of the hero's journey where you aren't supposed to be liked because of the truth that you spill. Period. Glinda wasn't in black and white scenes. All the other main characters were. Why? Because Glinda was supposed to stand out as ego always does. Ego never conforms. Glinda also never wore a uniform because ego is never uniformed. Because even, I don't know, I can't say that with certainty, so I'm gonna keep that one to myself. I can't remember if Elphaba was always in her uniform either, but I also know that Prince Charming was never in uniform either. If there was an ego thing, they were not in uniform. But I don't think Elphaba was always in uniform either. Because again, ego is never uniform.
So do you think that there's something to the fact that even in Wizard of Oz, because they're saying that the reason why their bond is so crazy is, okay, during the filming of Wicked, they went through that during COVID. All right. Wizard of Oz, I mean, it was so many bad, terrible things that happened during that movie. I mean, I was just watching a video and I was like, oh my God, there's so many just horrible things. Why do you think there was so much negative energy in that film? I mean, people just, I mean, just even the products they used on people was, they had the scarecrow, they put asbestos in this whole thing. The snow that came down was asbestos. The paint they used was just like made of copper that would, you couldn't ingest it if you did, then it caught on fire. I mean, just the most, I mean, her nerves were exposed, like just a lot of this, just I don't know how much of this is like Hollywood stuff or just that people were, I don't know how much of it's Hollywood or just they just wanted to shoot it so bad that they didn't care about people's feelings or whatever, or if there's some like sinister thing behind it. What do you think about all of the, like, the terrible things that happened during the filming of the movie.
Rituals need sacrifices. You can't make an omelet without cracking a few eggs.
Mm.
And y'all are under the idea that these men and women of power care about your life. They don't. They pay for your life. They pay for your life with the paycheck and the fame that you want because you think that's the end all that be all. But that's where you put your life on the line as a sacrificing sheep, as part of the ritual. Any part they want you to play, they contract you in to play so many parts in their ritual before they'll let you out of the contract.
Mm.
They don't care about your psyche. Who cares about the tools? The only people who care about the tools are the people who care about their magic. Y'all are throwaways. And
What
because
happened last
you,
time?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Most actors, singers, talents, I don't care how talented you are, you wouldn't have that money without the machine behind you, because the machine needs a certain amount of ritual out of you before it will give you anything. Especially if you want to ride its fame, its fortune. Y'all believe that these first time entertainers come out and they're mega millionaires? They are not. That money is borrowed. And the minute they step out of line is the minute that the label says, pay us back, you brokey. Nah, we're not going to push your album. Pay us back. We ain't going to push nothing you do. As a matter of fact, we're going to put you back here on this line and we're going to make sure you go into obscurity because we can.
I want to like give you guys some of the idea of like some of the things that were going on, because I don't know if the same things happened during this Wicked filming, but it seems like the same trauma bond that's happening. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I think that there might be a similar trauma that they might have. We're going to find out later on in life. Like, when they were filming Wicked, all these things happened. But I want to show you guys some of the things that happened during just the Wizard of Oz. And maybe this whole thing is like some people say it's a curse, but I don't think it's a curse. I just think that whatever that they're covering, whatever that they're doing with this film, it has a certain energy behind it. And so I wanted to like kind of get into some of the weird things that happen. Do you mind that?
I don't, but I don't mind that at all. But can I just point out one
Go
thing
ahead.
right quick? In the very beginning of The Wizard of Oz, this is all about vortexes, how to make them and how to follow them.
Right.
You know, a lot of people don't even realize that there was a red brick road. They only know the yellow brick road, and that's programming too. There was a red brick road and there was a yellow brick road. If you have on ruby red slippers, why would you listen to people tell you to follow the yellow brick road when your red ruby slippers matches the red path? But again, how many of y'all even knew that there was a red road sitting right there next to the yellow brick road? Where would the red road have sent her? But that's not what Glenda wanted. Glenda made sure that everybody told her, follow the yellow brick road, while they were hopped up on sugar, which is a drug to little people, which is a whole symbol in itself, that little people hopped up on drugs is telling you what path to follow, and you followed it. Simple. Oh my God. How simple can you be? Following little people hopped up on drugs. You gonna take that path. Yeah, no. I take the exact opposite path that matches my shoes. Thank you. Critical thinking. Little critical thinking. Right, Hudson. The red path would have took her straight to freedom. Just like in the labyrinth. Y'all remember the labyrinth? When she hit that wall and she was like, I'll never get through. And the worm was like, why don't you come on in and have some tea? And she was like, no, I don't have time. I have to get to the castle. And then she runs off and he said, well, she would have went straight to the castle had she gone straight through there. You missed the whole damn shortcut. But go ahead, DJ. I'm sorry. My bad. Yes, Libby. They exactly, Libby. They were there as spokespeople for Glenda. Follow the yellow brick road. Y'all don't even realize that Glenda called Dorothy an evil witch. Glenda was like, she was like, are you a good witch or a bad witch? And she was like, I'm not a witch at all. I'm a girl. And she was like, because only bad witches are ugly. I was like, damn, that was a dig. But, you know, sometimes we miss that. DJ, you might be muted. I don't know if you're talking or not, sweetheart. No? Okay. Yes, Saint, they were little prisoners. I'm not listening to nobody's prisoners who can't free themselves. Exactly. And this is why it is so important, again, to step into the party, part the sea of people, and dance your dance. I don't care what the little people hopped up on their own drugs is talking about. Dance your dance. Because you know what? Minions are easily swayed. They don't like you today, and they'll like you tomorrow. And then they won't like you. They're wishy-washy. They're the tide. They come in and they go out.
Actor Buster Keaton, known for his death-defying stunts, broke his neck during the filming of Sherlock Jr. when a violent stream of water knocked him against a railroad track. The incident wasn't even considered a big deal at the time. He just simply got up and continued filming. And this was the norm in that era. Actors were expected to perform their own stunts without any safety equipment or preparation. By the end of Buster's career, he is said to have broken nearly every bone in his body. Despite the growing awareness of these dangers in the 1930s, the production of The Wizard of Oz in 1939 demonstrated just how little Hollywood had actually changed. Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, otherwise known as MGM, was one of the most prestigious studios at the time, and they took on the production of The Wizard of Oz. They approached the production with the same old attitude towards health and safety. If anything, the pressure to create this type of never-been-done-before Technicolor movie made the working conditions even more extreme. To give the film its iconic Technicolor look, they had to use a revolutionary 3-strip lighting process, which required them to make the room impossibly bright. Because the lights were so bright, this then raised the temperature on set to be over 38 degrees Celsius, or for my Americans out there, that's 100 degrees Fahrenheit. This caused the actors to regularly faint under the intense heat. These brutal working conditions go all the way down to the costume and makeup. Butler, the actor that played the Cowardly Lion, had to wear a costume made out of real lion skin that weighed over 90 pounds. The heavy and suffocating suit was unbearably hot under the bright studio lights, causing him to constantly sweat, which led to extreme dehydration and exhaustion. The suit would become so drenched in sweat that they would have to leave it in an industrial drying bin overnight, although it never would fully dry completely. By morning, the stench would be unbearable, and the suit was even slightly moldy, but he would still have to wear it anyway. But he wasn't alone, because the Tin Man also experienced his own set of nightmares. MGM tested multiple different types of costumes and makeup to try and make the Tin Man appear silvery. They tried covering him in tin, silvery paper, and even silver cloth-covered cardboard. Finally, they decided to go with a white face paint coated with aluminium dust. Guys, I'm sorry, for the life of me, I cannot pronounce aluminium. Aluminium? I know Americans pronounce it aluminum, but I don't know. I can't pronounce it, so you're gonna have to bear with me, okay? So, what was the problem? Well, as you could have probably guessed, the aluminium dust was extremely toxic. Buddy Ebsen, the actor that played the Tin Man, started to experience shortness of breath and cramping just 9 days into filming. He was rushed to hospital, where it was then discovered that the aluminium dust had coated his lungs, which led to an allergic reaction. He was set to be in hospital for 2 weeks due to one of his lungs failing, leaving him completely struggling to breathe. What was the production company's response? They completely brushed over it and recasted him with an actor named Jack Haley. They also switched from an aluminium dust to an aluminium paste. Problem solved, right? No, the aluminium paste was just as toxic as the dust and led the actor to having multiple eye infections that even required surgery. The production clearly didn't care much about his eye infections, because later in the filming, there was a scene where the Tin Man is shown to cry oil, but they discovered that using real oils don't show up well on camera, so they decided to use chocolate syrup instead. I'm sure that did wonders for his eye infections. Even the Scarecrow had his own share of difficulties. His makeup was actually a latex mask, which seems like it would be an easier alternative to face paint, but the mask had to be glued to his face and left on for up to 16 hours at a time. However, the hardest part was actually peeling the mask off at the end of the day, because this would usually take up to an hour just to get it all off. Finally, after the production ends, he was able to take the mask off for the final time. It was only then that he noticed the pattern of his mask had created real marks in his skin. Most of his face eventually healed, but the corners of his mouth, as well as little patches on his chin, still never fully recovered. You can even still see them in photographs up to his year of death in 1987. I can't even imagine how uncomfortable the mask must have been for it to leave permanent marks on his face even 50 years after the movie was wrapped. It honestly just seems like torture, but surprisingly, it just gets worse from here. We all know the famous scene where the main characters find themselves in a poppy field and fall asleep under the snow. Well, only decades later were the true dangers uncovered, because the fake snow that they used was actually 100% asbestos. In the late 1930s, asbestos was seen as a miracle substance, mainly because it was fireproof. It provided the perfect solution for creating realistic-looking snow that would drift beautifully on camera. This substance is extremely harmful, and the long-term consequences of exposure are devastating. There is a rare and particularly aggressive type of cancer called mesothelioma, which is exclusively linked to asbestos exposure. But the asbestos didn't just stop at fake snow. Ray Bolger's Scarecrow costume was stuffed with asbestos. Given the character's multiple encounters with fire in the movie, they wanted to protect the actor by making the costume flameproof. The costume may have been fireproof, but it was also quite literally a walking health hazard. Moving on to the story that a lot of you probably know already, but I doubt that you know the full extent of what actually happened.
Let's just stop right there. I mean, we're gonna go further, but god dang, bro. What are we doing? Oh my god. What? Let's keep going.
happened. I'm talking about the Wicked Witch of the West and the accident that happened on set, which nearly ended her life. When Margaret Hamilton stepped onto the set of The Wizard of Oz in 1938, she had no idea that taking the role of the Wicked Witch of the West would nearly cost her her life. The transformation into the Wicked Witch began each day with a torturous makeup process. The green makeup that was used to cover her body wasn't just uncomfortable, it was also dangerous. Wow, who would have guessed? The paint contained copper and required careful application as it was highly toxic if ingested. Margaret couldn't eat once the makeup was applied, forcing her to work long days with little to no substance. But this, as she would come to realize, was the least of her worries. It was during the filming of her character's exit from Munchkinland that disaster struck. For the exit, they wanted the witch to disappear into a burst of fire and smoke through a trap door. She was nervous because she had a long cape that made it extremely hard to walk backwards, but she had to make sure that she landed on a little box for the trap door. 1 foot out of place and she could break her leg when the elevator went down. Obviously, this made her a little bit nervous, but the director assured her that this would only be done in one take. He only wanted one shot. So she practiced and practiced without any special effects. Her last instructions were to pull her elbows in so she wouldn't break her arms whilst going down. Finally, it was time, and I don't know how she had the guts to do it, but she did it and it went perfectly. But despite the promise of only doing it once, the director said that he wanted to do another one for insurance purposes. Before she could do it again, the director stops and tells everyone that it's lunchtime and for everyone to go and eat and come back an hour later. Can you imagine how scary that hour lunch break must have been? I bet she was pacing the floor back and forth, so nervous. When the crew came back, she said that they looked very sleepy, like they were ready to be put to bed. Nothing from that point went right. In the second shot, the smoke and fire went off a little too early. In the third, the smoke started too early, but the fire didn't start at all. After a few more times with the same little mistakes, the director became very impatient and angry, demanding that everyone pulls themselves together. So they all quickly set up to take the shot again, but this time the fire came too early. Way too early. She says it happened so fast that she didn't realize what was going on. She was aware that her hat and broom were on fire, but she thought that she was completely safe. She quickly realized how wrong she was when she looked down at her hand, and from her wrist down, her skin was completely peeled off. But the horror is far from over, because if you remember, she is completely covered in green toxic paint. So toxic that you can't ingest it. Now that her body has open wounds, it was a race against time to save her. They knew that they had to get this paint off her body immediately. Usually when they would take the paint off at the end of the day, they would use acetone, but the guy in charge of makeup decided that he was going to use alcohol for antiseptic purposes. So he douses her in alcohol and starts scrubbing her skin raw, trying to get this paint off, going over the wounds. She later said that she'll never, as long as she lives, have anything that takes her breath away just like that pain. The on-set doctor wrapped her up like a mummy and sent her off to the hospital, where she stayed for 6 weeks until the studio called her and told her that she had to come back into work. Even though she was covered in burns, she decided not to sue and says that it was for the simple reason that she wanted to work again. And she knew very well that if she sued, she would never work in any studio again. I can't even believe how bad that actually is after
I mean, are y'all listening? This is crazy. Like, what? And I don't know whether they might be doing the same thing to Ariana Grande and Cynthia, and that's why they still have the some kind of like scar. That's why there's like this thing. But
No,
you know,
they are. They are. This is a pattern. It's not an exception. They are.
mm, mm, mm. So when we're making fun of them being like overly protective, like no, leave her alone. Oh my god, this is a trauma bond that's created out of like probably very treacherous conditions trying to film this movie. That's what I'm believing, right?
Yes. What's the name of the actor that played the wizard? What's his name? Because y'all do realize this is the second time he's played the devil, right? What
Oh,
was this man's name?
you mean the old wizard, the new wizard,
The new wizard in Wicked. Oh, what is this man's name? What is his name? Jeff Goldblum.
yeah.
Yeah, this is the second time he's played a devil character. The first time he played a devil character, it was in Mr. Frost.
Mm. Well, he's Indian. He's not even. I think is he Indian or is he? I know he's like Indian, right?
I don't know.
I thought he was like Indian. Oh, hold on, let me see.
Yeah, the guy from The Fly, Jeff Goldblum. Yep. This is the second time. And remember, and I didn't want to bring that up, but isn't The Fly about a dude who goes through a transformation just like Elphaba?
Russian Jewish. Yeah, he's Russian Jewish. Interesting. Huh?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
I believe they probably were going through just as equal as just like even putting the makeup on, all the stuff that with the skin breaking with everything. Because that's the reason why I would think that any person. So we're looking at it on the outside, like why are they tripping so bad, right? But I'm thinking that they're going through whoever's the director of this does not care about there's something going on. We'll find out later. But I wanted to show this to show like just even on the original how they were just didn't give a shit. So I can only imagine on this how because if you watch it, it's like, dude, they have to be so they're losing weight, oh they're doing this. They have to be so tenured, like to be able to get this perfect. The level of perfection on this movie. I mean, if you watch it, it's so perfect, and it's not done by AI or CGI or it's people really doing this stuff. You know?
And we must remember that the greatest movies have always traumatized the
Mm.
actors. Alfred Hitchcock traumatized every freaking female actor he ever came across. What's the dude that did The
Yeah.
Shining? Oh my God. The guy that did The Shining, the little Shelly lady that played Olive Oil, that woman was never the same after that. All of the great movies traumatize the actors. All of them. Because your mind doesn't know the difference in you doing it and you acting it. Because you're doing it.
And your mind
Which
don't know the difference between you seeing it and you experiencing it. That's another thing. Because, like I said, the whole time I'm crying. My daughter, we were all just like in tears the whole movie. And then the way that the music, everything. I don't know if they like tune her voice to be piercing, like a certain way. But even the voice, how things were saying, were like, because we went to Dolby. And man, that her voice, Cynthia Erivo's voice pierced through everything. It was crazy. I said, man, I have never heard a voice like this in my life. Like it was like what in the world? Like it didn't even seem real. When you watch it on Dolby and hear it in Dolby, it's like, man, that voice is like, wow.
Alfred Hitchcock in doing the slasher movie, the lady in the bathtub scene, that woman was never the freaking same after that.
The stabbing scene in the shower.
Yep. She could never take a shower with a curtain on it ever again. Ever.
Wow. She sacrificed her voice. Man, her voice is. I've never heard the way they made her voice sound. It was like, I mean, it was like, wow. It sounded like a robot, but it's not. Because I make AI stuff. No, this was her real voice, but they must have pushed her to the limits. Now, I think even Ariana Grande had her voice a certain way, but I think they used AI on her. I think they made Cynthia really sing all that stuff that she sang because it had like these church like riffs in it, you know? And you know how church,
I'll go,
huh?
I'll go a step further. Look how Prince pushed that girl to sing that song. It's been 7 hours and
Rosie,
16
yeah,
days.
yes.
That woman was never the same after she came
Are
out
you
of that
serious?
booth with Prince.
Like she was traumatized?
Yes.
What?
Better yet, look at all the women that used to work for Dr. Dre. He pushed every last one of them to the freaking especially Miss Chalet. Oh my God. The trauma he pushed Miss Chalet through was ridiculous. This is what happens in entertainment. But Mary J. Blige. Look how much trauma she been through.
Listen, Ariana can hit Mariah Carey notes, but they had her hitting notes that I don't even think is humanly possible.
But it is ritualistically possible.
Wow. And when you hear how perfect every note sounds, I mean, I have never seen a movie where it's everything, every note is so perfect. I was like, what the hell?
But let me ask y'all something. Have y'all ever heard Mariah give Miss whatever Grande lady? She never gave that girl her props. And there's a reason. If you got pipes, you got pipes. But if you got it through a deal, those that have pipes don't respect your deal.
Honey, I don't think that area because the notes that Ariana was hitting sound like AI, but the stuff that Cynthia was doing, they were very church like. They knew the riffs she was hitting was like church riffs, you know, and you can't really just manufacture that, you know. The in between kind of like semi notes and man, and she brought church to the movie. It's like, and that's what makes you cry because when you hear her voice, whatever the scene is, and she's singing them, it makes you feel emotion behind the singing of whatever that song is, right?
Yes.
I don't think they edited that. I think they used her true, authentic voice because I didn't feel the emotion when Ariana Grande was saying. But when Cynthia did her part, you would want to cry throughout the whole movie. When she sang something, you would want to burst into tears, you know, because it was like the church, like going to church. But and even the first one, right? The way that she did, the way that that whole like ending scene was, with "And you don't find me to the western sky," uh, that how it ended and how that image was, because it was a frightening image, but the power of the voice behind it while she was thinking, honey, tears, just it was very emotional. And I'm like, bro, and who knows what she probably had to sit on a damn broom for like 8 hours straight, singing that over and over again. Who knows, you know? And there was a point in the movie, this movie, that even when Ariana Grande was singing and you could see her voice, like you could see it was really strange. Like you could see her vocal cords moving. It was really strange. When you watch it, you'll probably notice it because even my daughter, you could see her veins and stuff like in her neck. It was really strange. It was like what? Like, yeah, I don't know. Like you was
It's because she has no fat. She has no fat
yeah, you
layer.
could
The
see
fat is normal.
the main arteries. It was strange. Like what the hell? Yeah, she had zero. Cynthia, you didn't see that, but on Ariana, like you could see like her the two arteries going down. You could like see her voice, how it like if she was using vibrato, how her actual voice box was doing. It was really weird. I was like, ugh. It was kind of gross, but anyways, but it wasn't the same. I think that I don't know what if they really sang. Of course, the whole thing was probably like pre-sang and had like singing with it, but I'm like, why did her thing look like that? And it was zoomed in. It was really strange. So, so let's see. Let's see if there's anything more because I think it's like about to end with this whole.
You've been so severely burned, you don't want to sue because you still want to work again. I think that pretty much sums up Hollywood. So they asked her to return to set a day early because they needed to discuss a broomstick stunt that would take place the next day. But she now thinks that they just wanted her to come in to see how badly her face was damaged. She says that her face was fine and healing and she could put makeup on it, but her hand, she could not. All her nerves in her hand were exposed. So the director comes over to her and asks her how her hand looks. She carefully takes off her glove and shows him her hand. He grabs her hand firmly, gives it a shake, and says, "Yep, that looks good to me." So she's standing there with him grabbing her hand. She says that she's about to faint from the pain, and she tells him to please let go of my hand, sir. You are touching all of my nerves. He eventually lets go and says, "Oh, sorry, didn't mean to," and goes about his day. But oh my gosh, could you imagine that pain? I don't know how she is so strong. They go on to discuss the broomstick stunt, which would have her riding the broom in midair. That seems safe enough, she thought. That was until she gets into the dressing room the next day and they ask her if she wants her normal costume or her fireproof costume. What they didn't tell her was that while she would be suspended at 15 feet in the air, there would be a pipe attached underneath her broom that would produce smoke. But they said to her, "No, don't worry, we don't anticipate a fire, it's just for safety reasons." But after what happened last time to her, she freaks out and says, "Nope, I'm not doing it, not in a million years," and they get into a heated argument about it. Finally, the production gives in and makes her stunt double do it instead, although I don't really think it's a stunt double, I think it was just a double of her. So she takes her stuff, leaves set, and goes home for the day. Not even an hour after she's home, she gets a call from someone on the production team saying that the stunt went wrong and the double is in hospital. What happened that day was the stunt double shot went perfectly 2 times, but the director wanted more. He wanted more than perfect. In the first 2 shots, the smoke pipe was hidden behind her pinned down cape. But in the next shot, the director wanted her cape to fly in the wind, so they needed to find a way to hide it under her body instead. The stunt double watched them remount the pipe to under her saddle, which she was sat on. She says that she got a weird feeling when she saw them covering the pipe in asbestos. A button was concealed on the other side of her broom, which she was meant to press to release the smoke. The first 2 times, she pushed the button and the smoke came out fine, but on the 3rd time, she pushed the button and the pipe exploded. She was flung high off her broom, her wig and hat all the way in the other direction to the top of the soundstage. She falls down and manages to loop her legs on her broom so she catches herself, but still the damage was already done. Her leg was bruised from her thigh to her knee, and she had a 2-inch deep wound that circled her leg, which had bits of her costume stuck in it. She ended up in hospital for over 11 days, and a doctor told her that 2 people playing flying monkeys had already been in the same hospital weeks earlier. They both had a similar on-set mishap when they suffered a big fall after the wires holding them up broke. The toxic makeup and dangerous stunts.
Man, child, what the hell? All right, so I just wanted to. I'm not. This is too much tragedy. It's very terrible. So bottom line, I wanted to show this because when we're judging Ariana Grande and Cynthia, even so back then, they don't give a crap. I don't think they give a crap now because they want the perfect shot. And I can only imagine if they went through that back in the day, we can only imagine what happened now. Now, from what I'm hearing is that they had to shoot having COVID. People had COVID. People probably were passing away. One day a person is in the production, and the next thing. So I want you guys, when you're seeing these stories about them, to like just chill, because these Hollywood people don't give a crap. They want the perfect shot by any means necessary. And just because they have a CGI and AI now, no, they I don't believe that everything is done through. They want it to seem realistic, so they don't give a crap about people's lives. So, anyways, let me get back to the subject. So Fody, I want you to give an overall thing to like kind of wrap this whole thing up. We've been here for 2 hours. We're going to do more of these breakdowns. I think this is wonderful for Wicked. I'm not sure which one we're going to do next, what movie, but I really want to do like really a breakdown of all these things, because I think that people do not realize what's behind a lot of these this Hollywood magic that we see. So, without further ado, I'm going to let you kind of wrap things up and kind of give your explanation of everything. And so, I'm going to take this down. All right, go ahead.
We should always remember that rituals are happening around you, even if you don't realize that you are a part of it. But when you can finally identify the rituals, you can cognitively lend your energy or not. But always remember that the I am ritual is constantly playing around you, because they have to tell you the truth. Even if they show it as entertainment, it is still a truth that must be given to the masses. As it is usually done by those who are in the know, we always have to remember that it is our light that is most frightening to us and to the people around us. But when you finally learn to accept yourself as children do, and accept other people as themselves, we can give each other permission to grow into the magical Negro that you were meant to be by all birthrights, by your mother's birthright and by your father's birthright. Shatter the way that the world sees you, because it's such a small thing. Learn to fly, man. Learn to fly. Are we rolling out of here, DJ?
Yes, ma'am.
Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, DJ such and such, this has been a wonderful thing. And hey, y'all, we're going to do this again so that y'all can tell your children about the rituals that are going on around them. And don't let your babies be tapped. Stop letting people touch your children. DJ such and such, get us on out of here.
Mission, trying to get it right. Transition, changing the way that I see life. Transition mind. I'm on a mission, trying to get it right. I'm transitioning my life, making a transition.